Today we're going to cover everything you need to know to get started with Biblioplan. I'm thankful for my friends who use this curriculum and help me to prep this video. We are going to get into the details of what you need to know to purchase it and everything that's going to be included and inside of it, what to expect. But if you want to see how families are practically using it in their homeschool, then you might want to check out the links in the description. Biblioplan is primarily a history curriculum and it is designed to be done as a family. It is labeled as K through 12, although I have some hesitations about if that really is accurate. I'll be sharing those later. When it comes to price point, this is the subway of curriculum. You kind of start with a base of the lesson plan. This is gonna run you about $50, and then the textbook is about another $50, and then there are tons of add-ons to that. Overall, I placed this in about the 100 to 150 category because you are most likely going to get an add-on to go with that. Those add-ons have a big variety, so you can choose what is right for your family. Unlike Subway, there isn't one base price. You are adding additional costs each time. So let me know in the comments, what does that compare better to? Is it like Noodles and Company where you're paying for the meat to be added in? I don't know. If you are someone who has a hard time making decisions or struggles with FOMO, this is gonna get a little complicated. The reason that I said that the lesson plan book is your base is that technically you don't need any other books from Biblioplan. Once you get to about page 68, it'll tell you how you can be using other sources as you are going to stay in the same timelines and to be covering everything. You might choose to use Story of the World, Usborne history books, Story of Civilizations, Mystery of History. There are all kinds of options here that you could be using either in addition with this or completely separate. There's also suggestions on independent reads, chapter books, family reads, read alouds. This is really going to give you so many options. Make sure that you are reading all of it though, and it'll help to explain how things go. There's a lot of prep involved with understanding and getting familiarized with Biblioplan. If you choose to go with the text, you're gonna wanna remember the days. This is a curriculum that is based on a rotation of 4 years. And so you're gonna go through history, starting with ancient civilization through modern times, and then rotate that again once you have completed it. I have level 3 here, early modern days. Before I get into sharing with you why I have chosen not to use this curriculum, I do wanna continue showing you more options of books that you can get. This one here is the hands-on early modern history, learning culture through crafts, food, and fun. In here is gonna be all kinds of suggestions of extra activities that you can be doing with your children. Then you have coloring through history. This might be something that you choose to copy and then hand to each of your children for them to do while they are listening to either you reading or the audio option of reading as well. One of the things that helps financially with Biblioplan is that they do allow families to make replicas of their resources so you can print them off yourself. While these are technically consumables, then that really saves you when you come back through it in the future. If you had just made those duplicates, then you wouldn't have to make those purchases again. There's also hands-on maps. This is going to be part of your geography. Overall, this is a history curriculum, although it covers many different subjects like Bible history, church history, US history, world history, geography. It even gives some writing assignment, creative writing suggestions, although I don't consider that to be really helpful, really a valuable part of this curriculum. So I don't think that that actually helps with the price point, but there are creative options in there. There's also a really neat timeline option. I know that from what I've seen others use, they have really appreciated this, just giving an extra visual ability to create that timeline and flip through for families. The other one that I have with me is Cool History for Middles. This is going to give extra writing questions and prompts, ask questions from the readings to get your kids thinking a little bit more. If you have high schoolers, you'll want to purchase the separate book for the high schoolers too, although this is kind of optional, just depending on how deep you want your kids to go. As a history minor from college, I would say if your kids come out of their education understanding deeply and thoroughly what is presented in Remember the Days, they are going to be just fine. But if you are looking to go a little bit deeper, then there is that option as well. If you have struggling learners, children with ADHD or other learning disabilities, there's an option for an ebook that you can print to help you adapt some of these resources for their learning styles as well. There are also online classes that are an option that your kids can log into and be learning with others. Again, an additional price, but it's an option to help families find what is right for them. I have a rating system that I use when I am previewing curriculums to make sure that I'm covering all the bases of what I should be presenting to you. I also asked my friends, Megan from Pennies and Salt, Katie from Life in the Mundane, and then a couple of others to also rate the curriculum to make sure that I was giving you a good review, because I don't use it myself. I have chosen not to use it, and I'll get into those reasons in a little bit, but let's highlight some of the good things. Because of all the add-ons, you can find what is interesting and engaging for your students. It is polished and easy to understand if you're willing to spend the time invested to understanding it. So this automatically ties in with one of my negatives, which is prep time. Just from the very beginning, you are going to spend so much time trying to understand and choose and pick what will work best for your family, creating your layout. Although it is offered on page 68, how you can be going through it, you really have to select what you're going to be going through. It's going to have a learning curve, like most curriculums do, in finding your groove for your family. That's a lot of choices though. I think it's a little overwhelming. When I first got this curriculum in the mail, I set it aside for 2 months because I was so overwhelmed as a curriculum nerd looking at all of it. It was still just a lot and I had to ask for help. So don't be afraid to reach out to others and ask them how they are using it to have a better understanding. So to reiterate, it is clearly labeled and put out there for your understanding. It's just a lot to understand. Time-wise, the expectations are that you are completing a chapter a week. I think some of these chapters are kind of long, but I do think that it is realistic to do 3 lessons a week rather than every day of the week. But some of those lessons are kind of long and you might need to break those down a little bit more. You could also consider not completing it in the year and extending that a little bit longer for your family. For learning time for your children, like I said, I think the lessons are a little bit long, but there's so much flexibility in here that you don't have to go with the exact pages here. You might choose something else. You might choose to just have them do some, for your younger kids, do some coloring pages, which is a better expectation for them. Personally, I think there's too much just focused on history where you could be incorporating a lot more because it is very textbook style. That is not, for me, an enjoyment, that engaging enjoyment, desirable to come back to day after day, year after year. I love history. I want my children to love history. I want my children to love learning. This to me does not promote a love for learning history. I prefer living books. I prefer visuals and audios, and this just isn't my approach. Also, with visually appealing, when you open the book, what you're going to see is a lot. There's so much that jumps off the page. I appreciate that things are highlighted or perhaps put in bold so that you know that you need to pay a little bit more attention there. I also think that there's extra things that are a little bit bolder that don't need to be, like the first letter of every paragraph. It's so busy for me. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go next. Do I read the blue box? Do I read the yellow box? Do I read it first before the text or after the text? And perhaps that is better understood as you use it more, but I am so overwhelmed. I actually think that the images are very overwhelming. There's just a lot of them. They're small. There's a lot on the page. It's very distracting for me. I also think that these images look like they were pulled right off of Google, that the layout looks like a PowerPoint presentation. There's just nothing beautiful in this for me. I did have a friend mention that some of the images were disturbing to her children, and I'll share those here. But yeah, maybe for your young children in kindergarten through 3rd grade, these could be a little more advanced. I cannot imagine my kindergartners through 3rd graders really sitting through all of this. Even the coloring pages are detailed pages. And so what Megan even said from Pennies and Salt, who uses this curriculum with her family and loves it, she says it's a lot for the younger children. Learning inclusion though, huge. Yes, there are all kinds of learning styles that your kids can be invested in, and obviously as you are using those, they can be learning not just through reading, but through hands-on activities, and I think that's fantastic. As you look over this curriculum, it becomes evident that it does come from a faith base. And so for that reason, I like to also test it amongst a couple of other questions like, is it knowingly created by Christians? Yes. Does it incorporate scripture? Well, actually, it actually says that you should have your Bible as a primary resource. So that's fantastic. Does it encourage your faith walk, include God's involvement in the subject matter, and is it theologically sound? Does it probably include the gospel message? These are a couple other questions. Yes, it includes God in the subject matter in that you're going to talk about biblical history and church history. Does it encourage your faith walk or include the gospel message? Megan said that it gives a lot of room for those conversations to happen, although it doesn't necessarily happen in the text itself. That might be a great thing for you. It might not be. You get to decide that. But for this category, I gave it a 3. Each category has an opportunity of earning up to 5 points. Overall, Megan and Katie, they said that this is almost a perfect curriculum. Once you get into it and understand the flow of it. My rating's a bit lower, but I would like to know, what would you rate a curriculum like this? Do you feel like it meets your needs? Is it too overwhelming? Would you use it? Wouldn't you? I shared the reasons that I wouldn't use it, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't. And on this channel, I really want to be sharing family style curriculums that might work well for you, regardless of if I choose to use them or not. You can find in the description box my printouts on how I do this rating. If you want to just download it and print it off, there's that option. If you would like to open up the file, make changes in it, adding in your scores, and then email them back to me, I would love to know how you rate some of your favorite family curriculums, so please do that. I rated Biblioplan a 16 out of 25. What do you think? I'll have another curriculum review ready for you soon, so make sure to subscribe so you see when that comes out. And until then, check out this curriculum video here.